Hi everyone, and welcome to Building Basics. My name is Alex, and today we're building this. This is a Pokemon card. The build itself is going to be very simple, probably the simplest in this series. It's just a plane with a bevel. We got two sides with textures, which we'll add, and then hopefully we'll create a piece of animation that gets us excited. One thing to note, if you're new to Blender, go check out my beginner's guide to Blender so you have a better idea of the interface, of the buttons, and of the 3D viewport and some of the buttons I use. Alright, let's jump in and start building the model. So first thing we want to do is we want to model from a reference. So let's just drag one of these cards into Blender. What we want to do is just get this card at the origin. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to select it and hit Alt-G, which just centers it back to origin, and Alt-R for rotation. Let's go hit 7 on our numpad, and there's our dimensions. And we're also going to use this for texturing purposes. So what I'm going to do is say Shift-A, Mesh, add a plane. There's our plane, and I'm going to hit Tab to get into edit mode, hit A to select all, and let's start scaling it up. As you get close to the edge, you can hit Shift just to slow your movement down. So Shift, right to the edge, and that was easy. The next thing we want to do is just add a little bit of thickness to the card. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to hit 3 to get into faces, E to extrude, and I cancel that, and I'm just barely going to pull it up. And something like that. I think that's appropriate. Alright, so what we want to do now is add the bevel to the card, and then the model itself is done. So let's select our Geo, go back to 7, hit Tab to go into edit mode. I'm going to now switch to my edge selection, so I'm going to hit 2. And what I want to do, I just deselect it. I'm going to hit A again, which selects all. I'm going to also do Alt-Z, which sees through the model. And I'm going to deselect all the sides, leaving the edges in the corner selected. So with Control, I'm going to click these sides, and now on the corners, the vertical edges are still selected. There's 4 of them. Now with those selected, you can see the bevel on the card there. I'm going to hit Control B and just match up the bevel as best as I can. That looks good. Let's go into our options down here and add some segments. Tab back out. We can just hide the model. Alt-Z just to see the card. And like I said, this is the simplest build that I think I'm going to do in Building Basics. So next thing we got to do is apply the textures to this card. There's going to be 2 textures, one for the front, one for the back. What I want to do as well is I'm going to add the different Pokemon cards. I'm just using energy cards because I think it's going to be cool to see them animated somehow. I haven't thought about that yet, but I'm going to drag them into the scene, and then they're going to be part of the scene. So let's go back up here. I did the fighting energy. Let's just do the basic one, the grass one, and the water one. I'm just dragging them in there. Perfect. I'm just going to hide all of them for now. So with all the textures added into the scene and hidden, I'm going to now go into the shading workspace. I'm going to maximize this screen just so we see more. And I'm going to say join, right click on that line and join. Let's come on over here. Perfect. Let's click on the model. And so you can see over here we have object and we have world and line style. For now we'll stay on object. World, that's where we're going to add our HDRI lighting. And so for the object, we have no material. So we're going to say new. We can also come down here to the materials property, and we'll use that as well. Perfect. So the first thing we want to do is go Shift-A, go to texture, and add an image texture. We already have the images in our scene since we loaded them already, and they're just over here. So we can add that nice and quick. Let's start with just the energy one and hook that up. And you can see it's nice and simple. Let's just double check that the corners are working. There's a little bit of black, so I can fix that either on the model or just go into the UVs. I'm going to switch them just to make sure the other ones look good, and they do. The only one that I'm going to really double check is this back one. Oh, this one fits well as well. So you can see that it's mainly our model that's off a little bit. So let's go ahead and just adjust the UVs. I want to keep the model the way it is. Perfect. And if you double click on the material, you get the image here showing up. So now let's go to this window, and we're going to go to the UV editor. It's interesting, the UV editor window is the only window that my navigation tools don't work the same. So I can't explain that, but it is the case. Normally I use Alt for all my navigation. In this window, I just have to use Control for some reason. So if you get that, give that a try if you have an issue. Awesome, so what we're going to do now is we have the model selected. We're going to hit Tab to go into edit mode. I'm going to hit 3 just to go into faces. I'm going to select this one face. And over here, you couldn't really see the UVs, but they were on, basically they were following the model. And so if you hit A, you can select all, and you can see if I move my vertex, or pardon me, if I move my UVs around, you can see how it affects the textures. I'm going to right click just to cancel that. I'm going to hit period numpad, zoom in a little bit, and let's see here. So you can see what's going on. Here's the UVs, which basically represents the vertices, and here's the actual image. And so what we can do is either go back in the model or just affect this a little bit. And so I'm going to affect the UVs. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, hit S, and just scale them in ever so slightly. Go back up here, and you can see it got better. S, scale that in just ever so slightly. And I'm going to hit Tab to get out. Let's check it out. And it's done. So I think it looks good, nice and simple. We're going to look at the shine of the card, because I think when I was looking at it against the light, it actually is quite reflective. So we'll do that as well. Let's go ahead and add the backside. Okay, so here we go. So that's one side. I'm going to go ahead and click this plus just to add a new material. And then we'll do the same on the back side. So this one object has 2 materials, and it might even have 3 if I want to do the edge a different color. But let's just move our camera. And if you're wondering how I go in and out of a window, that's just a hotkey. And I show that in that beginner's Blender tutorial. So if you're interested, go check that out. I find it very useful just to know how someone's navigating. Everyone does it a little differently. So let's go ahead and select the model. Hit Tab again, just to go back into edit mode. 3, make sure you're on faces, and just select the bottom one now. You can see that the top one, the UVs were affected. I didn't do it on the bottom. What we want to do now is, you can see I'm still on this one material, which I can just call, let's give it some names. Basic. And then I'm going to call this material just the logo. Alright, so what I want to do now for the back side is select the face, go to logo, and then here just do the same steps. Shift A, texture, image texture, and place that there. Everything's in our scene already, so that's one of the nice things. If it's not in your scene, just go ahead and find it somewhere on your computer. And I'm going to say the back. Perfect. Let's hook that up. And what we got to do is just assign now. And you can see that we keep the top and the bottom is affected. I'm going to hit Tab just so it's not selected and I want to see it. We're still going to have that issue. We can't see it here because of the lighting, but you won't be able to see it. But we have that same issue we did before. So let's fix that and then worry about the edge, and then we're done. Here we go. Select the model, Tab, and with that one face selected just on the bottom, I'm going to hit A here in this UV window, period numpad, and now I can frame for everything. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and hit S just to scale it in a little bit. I'm going to go right to that corner because that's all I'm interested in. Just making sure I don't see it. And I did enough. I'm gonna hit S and barely scale it up. And I'm done. Okay. So let's just go back here, and I want to look at the reflectivity of this material. So if we go roughness and really pull that down, you can see now it's very reflective. So that's fun to play with. By default, it's at 0.5. Just gonna pull that down, maybe to 0.2 something, 0.28 in my case. And that way, when it catches some light, it actually bounces back some of that light. Now, because we have two materials on this one object, I'm gonna do the same for the logo. Roughness, and I had 0.28. I'll keep it the same. Okay, so the last thing we gotta do is that edge. So here's what I'm gonna do. Go back into edit mode, A to select all, and I'm gonna deselect the bottom face and then the top face, which just leaves those ones on the side, those faces. So I'm gonna hit A, and we're gonna scale it so then we can use the blue texture. I'm gonna scale that in a little bit, and that's all we need. Now they're gonna get that same blue texture. Tab, and now really our model is done. And you can see some of this flickering, and what happens is the thickness of that geometry is not very thick. And so, at least in the viewport here, we're seeing through it. That can be achieved or fixed if you go N, and under View, we can adjust this clip start. If you play with that, you can see it goes away. And as you get further, it does this. I don't think it's going to show up in the render, so I'm not too bothered by it. And I'll leave it at 0.1. It was at 0.01. So that's how you fix that flickering. All right, so congratulations if you followed along. We built the model. We added the textures to the sides, affected the material a little bit. Let's go ahead and add an HDRI texture, and that's going to be our lighting. An HDRI texture is a 360 image that Blender and other softwares use to gather lighting information. And I really like it. All right, so there's our model. Let us now go into, we're in object. Let's go to world. Now if we come up here to our lighting, we can see even if I change the color of the world color, it affects the lighting. So that's really cool. What we're gonna do now is hit Shift A, texture, and instead of an image texture, we're gonna add an environment one. And I'm going to say open, and just navigate to where you have your HDRI image. If you don't have any, go ahead to HDRI Haven, download their images. They have a great selection, and the ones I use are always 1K or 2K. I don't go for more detail. I like this one. There's some really nice colors in this one, and I found this one gives me nice results generally. So I'm going to open and just hook that up. Okie dokie. Now we can see we get the image in our scene, and it's bouncing information in the form of lighting back to our model. I don't want to see that image, so what I'm going to do is come up over here to our render settings and go to film and just make it transparent. All right. Now the hard part comes. What am I going to animate? What am I going to do to this very simple card so that I think I can make it exciting, so that when someone watches it, I can entertain them for 5 seconds. That's the goal here. What can I do with this inanimate object that'll get someone to at least think that's cool? So I'm gonna have a think about that just for a minute or so, and then tell you what I've come up with. All right, so I've come up with my idea. And what it is I'm thinking that the 4 cards is going to be face down on a surface, and then I'm going to create the energy balls that just going to bounce in or whatever I'm going to do, hit each individual card with its own energy, and then reveal that those are the 4 cards. I just duplicated the models with Shift D. So let's do the last texture swap, and then let's create the energy balls. And let's set up our scene. Let's go back into our shading workspace, and I'm going to select this last one that I want to change and come on over here to our materials property. I'm going to hit this plus sign. I'm going to say new, and same like before, texture, and it's an image texture. Just hook that up, and it's going to be the water one. So the next thing we got to do is just hit tab, 3 for faces, and just select that top face. You can see instantly it's associated with this basic energy. We're just going to go and let's select this one. We're going to sign, so you see how easy that is. Let's name this one. Perfect. Let's tab out, and I'm going to go back to that basic one, and I'm going to hit this minus, and no longer associated with this object. Perfect. So we got the 4 cards. They're all unique. I think they look great. Especially if I'm thinking the last framing I'm going to do is I'm going to push in the camera and just spread the 4 cards out and use that screen space a little bit. At the beginning, there are going to be also more landscape, and then I'm envisioning the energy balls somehow coming in and these cards just sucking in that energy, kind of rotating magically up, and then hopefully doing something cool, and then a punch in with the camera. So let's go back to our layout window, select these 4 objects, and I'm going to rotate them. You can see when you do that, they all rotate, and that's okay. That actually works. I mean, if I want to go 180, I can turn them around, but you could go to individual origins. So now they rotate from their own pivots. And so you can even imagine if you had 50, 100 of these and you animated them, I think that would look really cool. So let's do 180, Shift A, and I'm going to create a mesh and a plane. I'm going to hit tab to get into edit mode and just scale that up a little bit, something like that. Grab this edge here and just pull it out, and a little more surface. Let us go 3 for faces. Just select the face. I'm going to hit E to extrude and just add some depth. 2, which is our edge select. A to select all, and I'm going to, and what I did there, how to hide my translate tool, is I just hit W. W is your select tool, so it just gets rid of that. And I'm also going to do Alt Z just to see through my model, and start deselecting those edges with Control and Select, which just leaves the corner ones. And just like we did with the card, I'm going to Control B and add a bevel. I'm going to select all with A, deselect this one, and bring up my cards. And what I can do is just pull them up, make sure now I come out over here to Snap To, and I'm going to Snap To Vertex. Just pull this down on this axis, hit Control, and then I can pick a vertex that I want to snap to. Now it's just right on that surface. Next thing we want to do is create a camera. Shift A, camera, and let's go over to our animation workspace. So here we go. I always do the same setup every single time. I just pull this up a little bit, and then here's my graph editor. And for this one, I'm going to hide everything. This is going to be my camera window. If you see this, you can middle mouse and just drag this over. And I want to see my textures. Same thing here. And you can see we're getting that clipping plane issue, and it's a little annoying. So let's go N, View, and just put this at 0.1. So let's hit 0 to go into our camera view. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit, hit N one more time, come to View and Camera to View, and now I can frame through this window. So like I said, now when I'm animating, I really go in and out from my 3-panel window to my main window, and I'm constantly going in and out. And go check out that beginner's tutorial so you know how to set that up. Sometimes for simple animations, I don't get bothered by this transparency, but since I'll be here a little bit, I will go over here, go to Viewport Display with the camera selected, and then I'll just go 0.99. I can still see a little bit. I like seeing a little, but now I can focus really on what I'm filming. Oh, and I don't have these, so I'm going to click these just to see my selections and everything. Select A, deselect, and I want to just select the 4, and then in my camera view, I'm going to hit F to frame. And really what I'm looking for, what I'd like is quite a symmetrical framing. Just see what looks good. I'm using a 50 lens, and I feel it already. It's very flat. So I might drop the lens, which will elongate the picture, which will add that perception of depth. Because yeah, I'm looking at this, it's not very exciting. And for some reason I imagined it being more on the ground, but even here, the textures get muddled and it doesn't look good. So I know I have to come up a little bit. And what about even maybe if I start down here, do a little pan down? I think that's just too busy. Cool, I might just do something like this. All right, let's go back into our camera properties and let's just widen out. Let's do a 35. Cool. Let's leave the framing for now, and let's create our energy balls I was talking about. Shift A, mesh, and we're gonna add a UV sphere. I'm gonna right click and just shade smooth. Let's just move this over here so we can see it nicely. And what we're gonna do is use the same textures we did for the Pokemon cards on the balls themselves. I'm gonna go back into my shading, and let's frame for this. I'm gonna say new, Shift A, texture, image texture, hook that up. Let's do the first one, which is our basic energy one. And you can see it's all wonky like, no big deal. I'm gonna hit 1 on my numpad, also go into edit mode, then make sure you're on faces. If it's not selected, just hit A to select all. And then over here you can see the UVs. And those are the UVs by default. And what I want, since I went into my orthographic view, I'm gonna project from this view, go over here to UV and project from view. And here's my new UVs. I'm gonna hit A, make sure I select all. Period numpad just to zoom in a little bit. And I'm gonna scale this up. And really all I'm gonna do is just fit it in this one circle. Shift really slows things down. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Tab back out. And I think it looks cool. For not really dedicating much time, I really like it. It's going to be simple. I'll do the same for the other 3. So I'm going to skip ahead and then you'll see it in a second. All right, so here we are with the 4 spheres done up. I think it looks really cool. And one thing I didn't mention where I got the textures is right from the Pokemon website. Basically what I'm thinking is that each energy ball is going to somehow just touch the card, go into the card, and then the card absorbs that energy. We reveal that those are the energy cards. So we're going to do hopefully something unique with the balls. Each one is going to have just a different weight to it, a different personality. And then for the cards, what I'm imagining is that they just lift up somehow. I'm going to add an empty so I can do an orbit, maybe a 180 or 360, and then they come into for the last pose. That's how I see the end framing being. So I have the end in mind. Now I just want to think about that first framing. And like I said, this is a little boring. I'm not really excited about it. So I think what I'm going to do is just change up, instead of having this surface, I'm just going to make it white everywhere, like the Matrix. Just, you don't even focus about anything else except for the cards and then the energy ball. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Let's go ahead and delete that. Shift A, mesh, plane, really scale that up. And then I'm just going to, kind of like a curtain, go up. So let's see what it looks like. I think already I'm liking that idea better. Scale that up some more. And what I'm going to do is, before I do that last portion, come on over here, and now match it to the height of the cards. Just like we did before. There we go. Cool. Tab back, go to 2 for edge and select that. I'm going to hit E to extrude, cancel, and just pull that up. And if I need more, I'll just add more height. So we don't know yet. I'm going to go back to this edge, Control B, and there's a nice little bevel. Let's shade smooth. And I think that's going to be better. I'm already liking that. I'm more focused on this idea, and it's simplified. And I mean, even just with the element, the balls being above the cards, that's even kind of cool, and they can just come down. But I want to add some character to each ball. So this fist one, I'm going to think that it's a heavy one. This leaf energy, I'm going to have it kind of just floating into this card. The water one, I might have it drip. And then this energy, I might have it be the one that moves around the scene more. So let's see what we come up with. In terms of the animation and the controls I'm going to use, I'm just going to animate the geometry. I'm not going to get fancy with any rigs. If I want to do a bit of squash and stretch, I'm going to do it right on the model. And then the cards, I'm going to animate the cards geometry themselves as well, but I will have a constraint. So then they follow the empty. All right, so let me work on this framing a little more. Cool, here's my camera. I'm gonna keep this for now. I might change it. So I'm gonna come out of the camera, hit N, and turn off this camera to view. So now I can't accidentally just move that camera. All right, let's go back into the camera 0 and frame this up a little bit. Cool, let's start animating. So here's my timeline. And I said, I think 4 to 5 seconds. It's probably going to be 5 to 6 now that I'm thinking about it, especially with that reveal at the end where they come up and they just spread out and it's a hero shot essentially. You're going to want at least a full second to just take that in. So for now, I'll just say 96 frames is 4 seconds, and knowing that I most likely will add more time. Let's start positioning some of the energy balls. I know the leaf one is going to come down. I might even start with that one, the leaf and the water. Those seem the simplest. I might do those animations first, get those out of the way, and all I'm going to do once I have the animation and I think it looks good, I can grab that whole entire animation and just move it anywhere so that it works with the other action. So let's do this leaf one first. And for now, I'm going to turn back on this. So I do want to animate in the viewport as well. So let's pull that up. I want to be right over the card. I'm just going to pull that down. I think that looks really cool. All right, so let's go up. We know that that's its end position. I'm going to be out of frame. And let's give it a bit of time just over here. I to insert location rotation. And let's give it a good amount of time. Just see what that looks like. I'm just going to pull it down below the ground. I, location rotation, and let's make this linear. With V, select all for A, and then V, and I'm going to make it linear, which is vector. And these past year to 2 to 3 years, I've really switched the way I've worked in terms of the graph editor. I used to be auto tangent a lot, flat tangent. Now I do a lot of things when I'm blocking things out in linear. I find linear doesn't lie to me, whereas the ease in, ease out of an automatic or of a auto curve or auto tangent, it's tricking you a little bit. So that's just my opinion. All right, so here we go. I'm going to just play that. And all I'm doing is getting a sense of the speed, and it's too fast for a leaf. A leaf really takes a lot of time, so I almost want to double it. I'm just going to come on over here and maybe say 61. G to just grab that. Let's play it again. That's pretty cool. And I have to think, this energy ball, I think we want to embrace how slow it is, because the water drop is going to be quicker. The energy fist one is going to be more aggressive. It's going to have different timing. And the leaf really, I think, has the biggest contrast. It's the slowest one, so we're going to lean into that. Do I like it? I think it can be even a little slower. So, G, and maybe make it 69 frames. Awesome. So here's what we're going to do. We have our start, we have our end, and now we just have to add some in-between poses, just basically left and right. We're going to keep it simple. I'm not even going to add any rotation yet. I might do that after. Check it one more time, and I think that's cool. Awesome. So it's coming down, and maybe I can go one side, and then it kind of comes back in the middle there. So I have time for 2. Let's pull this over. Not too much. Key location, coming over here. Key location, and then it can come back in the center. And then it kind of dies there, so I'm going to pull it off to the side a little bit. just to keep that movement going. Location. Let's just watch that. Cool. I'm going to exaggerate a little more, and then now I'm going to start to think a little bit about rotation, and then as it hits the different sides, I can imagine that it has a little hang time and then it dips down. So we're going to try to add that in. So here's what we're going to do. We have those locations. Yeah, and let's actually go location rotation for all of them. Location rotation. Location rotation. Perfect. And then we want a little bit of hang time. So I'm going to select these two and just bring them up 2 frames. I'm going to just barely offset that after, or push it back. Okay, so off screen, I'm going to pull this over here because it came from a different direction, and I'm going to add a little bit of rotation this way, and maybe even this way, just to break things up, and maybe even this way. Awesome. And now it's coming into this pose, and it's leaning this way. Maybe it's swung on over there, and it's starting to come on over here. Perfect. A to select all, and then period to frame for it. Come over to the next keyframe, and let's pull this out a little bit more, and lean the other way. Insert. Perfect. So let's see what that looks like. And I think that's already looking really cool. The beginning was a bit harsh, so I'll adjust that. But then these other ones are feeling really cool. I think keeping it simple is the key here. We're going to have a lot of movement on screen. We're going to have 3 other things asking for our attention. So I don't need to overthink this one movement yet, at least. But the beginning really did catch my eye, so that was a bit fast. So I'm going to push that back in a little bit. And what I can do as well is key over here and delete this one framing, and now it just smooths it by itself. Very cool. Let's leave it as is. Let us work on this water drop. Let's get it over our model. Boop. And let's pull it up. So what I'm thinking for the water drop is, I can imagine maybe there's a faucet just above here, and we can see it falling and then bloop, and it just goes right into the card. And then on this one, I'm thinking I might even do affect the shape keys as well, just to add a little distortion to it. So let's pull it up. Right out of frame, I to insert a key, and now we're below. Pull that down, I again. V for vector. Let's play that. Let's pull this out a bit. Oh, much too slow. But the reason I left that is because I want to see a little bit here, and then it pulls down. But still, much too slow. Great. So I know I want to see the shape here before it really gets released from the faucet. That idea. So we get to see it, and just before we fully see it, I'm going to insert a key right here, pull this G, and really slow down time. So already that's better. Towards the end it was a bit fast, so I might give it another frame or two. So we can see, and actually it's overshooting here, so let's go over here, V, just flat tangent that. You can see I'm not even really seeing most of that. Let's make this vector for now as well. Really what we want is, we want to see that drip for a decent amount of time. We want to register it, and then it can go fast. So let's see what that looks like. Cool. And what do we have? We have 6 frames from here to here. And I might just give it one more frame. There we go. Actually, I'll give it 2 more frames because I'm going to elongate it. I'm just going to pull it down a little bit. Awesome. So I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to make it all vector just for now. Cool. We'll adjust the timing. And so here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to select the middle keys and I'm going to hit V and auto because I want this one not to fall off so quickly. And I'm going to select this curve and V for vector on this side. And then that little bit just not gonna fall as quickly. Okay. Yeah, I think that looks good. We might adjust, but let's worry about now the shape key. So let's do that and make it feel like more of a water drop. All right, so what I'm gonna do now with my object selected, I'm gonna go to this plus sign right here. And so that's our basic layer, and I'm gonna go one more. Okay, so now I can go to edit and just affect the shape. So you can do this in sculpt mode or just what I'm doing here. And I'm thinking the easiest way to do it is I'm gonna hit 1 for vertices, select this top vertice, and now we can go over here and turn that on. And what that is it's a fall off. It's looking really cool. It's looking like a water droplet. And what happens in animation, well, what happens in real life is an object has a volume. And so if I'm affecting this water droplet by pulling it and it's giving a better shape, but I'm adding more volume to it, I got to take it out from somewhere. So I got to squash it in those other directions. So I pulled it this way. I'm going to select all and squish it in these directions here, just like that, and skinny it up a little bit. Cool. So I think that looks really good. What I did is hit tab, so I'm back in object mode. And then with that key, I can just slide that on. So very cool. And I might even just have it in this shape the whole time. So let's check that out. So I like that. It's still a little fast. Let's select this one, make sure it's vector. There we go. So now you can see the fall off there. Cool, I like that. And with all the cards, what I'm gonna do is just add a small transparency energy, like it absorbed it. Okay, let's work on this guy right here. And so this energy is gonna come in, and I'm gonna have it come in from screen left because it's the shortest distance. I'm gonna have the energy one coming from screen right because it's the most distance, but it's gonna be more frenetic. So we'll see what that looks like, but let's get our final position that I want him to go into. Perfect. And I'm just gonna pick a frame. This is all gonna change once I time all of them together. So there's our end location, and let's go over here. And gonna look this way. And we're gonna pull it a little more and out of frame. Awesome. And let's pull it up so it's actually on the ground. Awesome. All right, here we go. I'm gonna select all, just make vector again. And really, I see it being simple. And the reason is I want the yellow one to be the one that's taking up more screen space and just having that personality. So this guy, I can see him, the energy ball being grumpy, something like that. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is just copy this keyframe, Control C, come somewhere around here, Control V, and then I'm going to just animate it down one axis for now, anyways. And maybe he just takes a turn and goes right in there, but something like that. Be perfect. Let's play that. I actually really like the speed because it's going to give time for the up and down. Cool. And now the rotation over here, I'm just going to update that. I didn't like the way it moved. So 90, let's see, 90, key. Let's see what that does. That's better. Awesome. So basically this is a bouncing ball, and then I'll use that shape keys as well just to add a bit of squash after. But yeah, very simple. This is a bouncing ball, and I don't think I'm gonna have it rolling. Let's do that. It's gonna come in, bounce on 23, bounce on 41, and already on 41 we're rotating a little bit towards the model. And what I'll do on this keyframe is just get the energy ball a little closer to the card. Everything is still vector, still linear. All right, here we go. So I'm going to maybe even land on frame 25. Doink, doink. Yeah, let's do that. Keyframe on frame 25. So location rotation, and that's the next landing, and then we're in the card over there. So again, everything I want to work a linear vector, and coming off screen. Actually, let's do this bounce, 33, just pull it up. Something like that, key it. Let's key it as well. Doink, doink. Actually, let's delete this last keyframe. Already I'm going to, on this last landing, start rotating it towards the card, and even start pulling it a little more towards the card. There we go. So I can go back to the middle here and pull it up. And now it's just gonna have the rotation built in a little better. And then maybe on the last one, I have a bigger jump. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Yeah, nice and simple. I'm liking the idea. Let's pull this under, key it. Let's play it one more time, and then we'll add some of the hang time. Doing, doing, doing. Nice and simple. Awesome. So let's go ahead and get back in there. So in Blender, our up axis is the Z axis. So I'm going to come on over here, and we have our Z location. I can hit Shift H and just show those curves. A to select all, period number pad to frame in. And so everything was vector, and then the new keys that I set, those are flat tangents, or those are auto, I should say. Okay, so we're coming from off screen, and all I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in a bit over here, and we're going to select this key and just pull it over here, this one, and it's going to come in a little sharper. And we'll just see what that looks like. So it's sharper, it's faster, and then it has a bigger hang time. And we're just manipulating these. Maybe I'll do a fun rotation at the end as well for this energy. Cool, let's see what that looks like. Doing, doing, cool. So it's got a lighter feel than I would like. And so I'm gonna try keeping it on the ground longer, and I think just even shorter height as well. So that's what I'm gonna go for. Select these two, hit G to pull those down. I think it's good when it comes down sharp. Going up, just keep it down there a little bit longer. So maybe somewhere around here. I'm gonna insert only on selected channels right here. Select this tangent and just slow it down a little bit. So let's see if I like that. It did help a little bit. So I'll do the same over here, and then just move on. Like I said, when you have a lot of things moving on screen, to focus in on one thing at the beginning just takes time away. Perfect. I think the last thing, it feels really rigid because there's no rotation. So let's add a little bit of rotation. So every time it comes in, maybe what I'll do is just have it lean back a little bit. and then forward a little bit. Coming over here on the landing, lean back, nothing much. And then maybe up here, I'll just add more rotation. And then when it comes down underneath, just play with that rotation, just to give it more life. Cool, I like that, nice and simple. We have the shape selected. Let's come back over here, hit this plus sign, plus again, and now we're on that second shape. And so I'm gonna go to a contact frame, hit tab, and actually let's go right to the beginning. Oops, let's go right to the, sometimes it's hard not to hit F when you're in edit mode, because I'm used to framing, but F is a fill tool, so you gotta hit period numpad. So here we go. What I want to do is just squash it down a little bit. So I'm going to select, just like we did before, select this, hit G, and this time I'm going to switch to my mouse. I'm going to pull down, and with the middle mouse roll thing, I can increase the effect of it. So I do want to increase the effect, and so I'm going to undo that and just pull it down. Perfect. Select all, just like before, and we're going to scale outwards a little bit, not much. And then also what I'm going to do, coming over here, and this time I don't want this to have much of an effect, so I'm going to scroll the wheel, and I kind of want to feel the flatness of it. Cool. So you can see now when I just move that, that's all I want. And that can be animated. So we're going to do that now. So there's our impact. I'm going to come one frame before with that key 1, right click, insert key, right on the contact. There we go. Insert key. And it's coming out of it. I went 2 frames. I might even, 2 frames is good. And then insert key. And I might even just hold it. Perfect. Let's go over here. Here's our contact. So 1 frame before. Insert key. On the contact. Move that over. Insert key. And I might even keep it on the ground more, but this one's different. Slide that back, insert key. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Yeah, I like it. So now let's do the lightning bolt. And the lightning bolt, I was envisioning that really stretching it for some reason. I just want to feel more frenetic, more definitely quicker. And then so maybe between key poses, maybe I really stretch that geometry out. So what I'm going to do is go nice and rough and pick a couple areas on the screen that are not being used, and I'm going to fill it with that energy ball. And then between those keyframes, once I'm happy with the timing, just skew it, stretch it. And then we have the beginnings of the shot. Perfect. So here we go, select the lightning bolt. Let's, just like all the other ones, let's figure out that last framing where it needs to get into. And there it is. Perfect. Okay. And I'm already kind of liking the timing of everything. I think the leaf should be the first one to come out. Or maybe even the lightning bolt. Maybe, let's see. Right now everything kind of comes out at the same time. The leaf should be one of the first or second, because it's the slowest thing. We don't want the water droplet because we might blink and miss it. So let's have the lightning bolt be the first thing. So maybe even around frame 3 for now. I'll adjust all the timing, because when we cut into a shot for the first time, you want at least 6 to 8 frames of nothing happening. Because when we see something for the first time, It takes a little bit of time just to orient ourselves to a new picture, and then we can receive new information and actually take it in. So we have that end position. I'm just going to pick a random frame. And then let's see what this energy lightning. Ooh, I kind of like, I'm really going to play with depth actually. That'll be nice. There's no cue signal to give us depth except for the perspective of the cards going into depth. And then I'm really going to play with the scale, which is just the depth of this ball. So I think that's going to be cool. I know I want to come in from screen right, or maybe do I want to drop in from the top? That's kind of the energy I'm thinking of. And then I'm envisioning it starting around here, zipping around here, maybe doing a couple quick actions, zipping into this area, because this area is empty on screen, and then, who knows, wrapping around or something and then dropping down. So it might be the first thing on screen and the last thing on screen in relation to the other 3 energy balls. Let's see. Yeah, maybe just even dropping in a little diagonal, so it's not like the other ones where it's either vertical or horizontal, and it'll come in on a diagonal. So here's my first keyframe, besides its original location. And already I'm gonna start playing with just skewing things. Let's go into local. Okay. I want it to contact the ground. Perfect. And let's see, I might even have it come in like a ball, doink, doink, and then zip out. I think that'll be really nice, actually. So I'm gonna keep things simple then. I'm gonna do Alt-R to reset the rotations. And let's see, probably even 90 degrees. And then that way it's rolling. And I feel like this is the front, its logo. So I'm gonna have it roll in the direction it's going. So let's do that. Location rotation, and let's copy this, and there we go. Pull this off screen. Vector. So it's gonna come in more aggressively. It's gonna roll. It's gonna have a couple bounce. Doink, doink. Look around and then zip, 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 zip. And I'm gonna delay all the other ones a little bit. For now, anyways. A to select all those. And I'm gonna go, let's see, 7. Just even, let's go 6 frames. Okay. Gonna roll in. I got 16 frames, and that's not bad. Yeah, let's do that. Select all, just make sure it is linear vector. Let's go 360. Oops. 360 and key it. Let's see what that looks like if I buy it. Oh, wrong way. Minus 360. Minus 360. Insert key. Do I buy that? Yeah, I buy that. Okie dokie. So let's do the bounce. It's gonna come in bounce. Bounce. Frame 7, frame 9, doink, doink. And then it's gonna land. Frame 17. I'm gonna already copy this frame and think about bounce. 3. And minus 90. Oops. Let's go. It's gonna face the camera now. I think that's good. It's going to keep that momentum going, that forward direction. Keep that position. It's going to look, and then it's going to have a little bounce, and then really zip. Doink, doink. And even this, I want to delay its rotation so it has somewhere to get into. Just 40 degrees. I'm going to now create a hold, so Control C and V. We need a nice little hold. So it's going to land, then it's going to bounce up, and then it's going to go. Okay, so let's do the bouncing part. Frame 9. So here we go. I'm going to insert a key, and now go to the middle, pull that up, insert key, go over here, insert as well. So now it's bouncing, bouncing, and then when it gets into that last pose as well, I'm gonna pull it up as well. So nice and simple, doink, doink, doink. Vector, there we go, let's play it. Don't worry about the weirdness yet. Cool, I think it's looking really cool. I'm gonna finish the tutorial here because there's still more work to be done, and I don't want the video to go on too long. It's already gone on long enough. So I'll see you with the final result. Alright, so here's the final result. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you got a lot of value from this video. The scope was bigger than I expected when I started, but I'm actually happy with the discovery of these 4 characters. There's something in their personalities. I think that's really cool. The effects that I added are from Cartesian Caramel, a YouTuber. I just followed his how to create magical shield tutorial. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know. If you want to see anything specific in the future, also let me know. Alright, thanks everybody. Bye-bye.